Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, booters, shills, desolacers, peasants, vassals, rockers, guitar players. Guitar players. You know, it's kind of interesting because guitar players used to be a special breed. There wasn't that many around, certainly when I was growing up, so it was pretty much a mystical experience being exposed to all these amazing guitar players. And I think at last count now there's supposed to be something to the order of 15 or 20 million guitar players in the United States alone. So pretty much everybody's a guitar player now. But that said, I want to talk about the Rolling Stone 100 Greatest Guitar Players of All Time issue. And, of course, Rolling Stone is a complete corporate rag. They have little really to offer other than being a blowhorn for all the corporate music mega corporations. And they haven't posted a bad review of a record probably in 25 or 30 years. So, but anyway, that said, of course, this issue of Rolling Stone, Great Guitar Players, is fairly predictable. You know, the top 5 of all time are always going to be Jeff Beck, Pete Townsend, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, and that's very predictable. They've been the top guitar players of all time in my entire lifetime. So they have a long tradition, and that's fine. They earn it. And of course, I have no problem with the fact that Jimi Hendrix is always number one. Jimi Hendrix is on the cover because Jimi Hendrix is the greatest guitar player of all time. So let me just say that right now. Jimi Hendrix, indisputably, is the greatest guitar player of all time. And it appears that for the foreseeable future, he will always be the greatest guitar player of all time. So, that being said, I want to make all my compatriots out there in the Jimi Hendrix Worshipping Club drool. I have an original photograph of Hendrix that not only is my favorite photograph I've ever seen of him, but it's an original, and I have it. And this is him in Rotterdam playing a Paisley Flying V, and it looks like somebody plugged him in. And that's totally badass. So, okay, we've settled that. Jimi Hendrix is the all-time great guitar player and undisputed king. But the other thing I want to say is that, of course, Rolling Stone missed a lot of other guitar players. They should do a second issue with the other 100 guitar players of all time. And I'm going to run through a few. So, guitar fans out there, I'm a guitar player. You know it because you've seen my guitar in my videos. And let me pontificate a little bit on guitar players. And I will include an extensive list of guitar performances to blow your mind below. So, all right, well, let's get to the meat and potatoes. I think Jim McCarty belongs on this list. He was in Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels, and then the Buddy Miles Express, and then Cactus. And he is a blues guitarist from Detroit, extraordinaire, used the Ampeg Scrambler, and is the equal of any guitar player that's ever been on this planet. And then we have Ollie Halsall. He was in a group called Time Box that became Pato, that became Boxer. He spent quite a few of his later years playing behind Kevin Ayers, and he died of a heart attack in his 50s. Rest in peace, Ollie Halsall. But he's the Technician's guitar player. Astounding technique, and he taught Alan Holdsworth how to be a wang dang doodle. And then a personal favorite of mine is Louis Dombra, the guitar player of the ultimate heavy metal band of all time, Sir Lord Baltimore. 2 albums in 1970 and 71, whose guitar mania couldn't possibly be surpassed to this day. And the band so much happened to include one of the most kick-ass singers, kick-ass bass players, and kick-ass drummers of all time. So a heads up to all rockers out there, Sir Lord Baltimore. Check them out, link below. Then we have Buck Dharma, a Blue Oyster Cult. Of course, after their first 5 albums, they pretty much went downhill and became another band that was hard to distinguish from everyone around them. But at one point, they were true contenders, and Buck Dharma had some of the most astounding riffs of the early 70s. And I want to put James Williamson on the list, guitar player from the Stooges. He should be on the list just for his guitar solo in I Got It Right. But the fact that he constructed Iggy and the Stooges' Raw Power is an astounding achievement by any guitar player. And then a personal favorite of mine, Terry Kath of Chicago. Now, just because the context was dubious at best, let's not forget what Terry Kath added to the guitar lexicon. And frankly, for my taste, Terry Kath is the second greatest guitar player of all time after Jimi Hendrix, because when he played guitar, he sang. And it's unfortunate the context that he was in didn't give him the chance to unleash his full capabilities. But go ahead and check out the guitar licks in all the early Chicago records and tell me he was one of the greatest guitar players of all time. And then I also want to add Tony McPhee of England's legendary Groundhogs, who plays to this day and has a unique and astounding technique blending 21st century noise and technology with old-fashioned 70s British blues, and a force to be reckoned with. And he was with the Groundhogs probably to this day, from about 1965 on. And then another personal favorite of mine, Chris Whitley, one of the greatest blues guitar players of all time. Unfortunately not so well known, but he died a couple of years ago, but he left behind a great body of work, so there's a lot to check out by Chris Whitley, and I highly recommend anyone check him out. And last but not least, a personal favorite is Gata from the Japanese punk noise band Melt Banana. He is the guitar player of the 21st century, using an astounding battery of sounds, unlike any human could possibly unleash. And I recommend all you old farts out there that still worship John Cipollina to go check out Melt Banana. And then, unfortunately, Cheap Trick gets no respect, but most guitar players know that Rick Nielsen is one of the greatest guitar players of all time, who incidentally made a parody of all the other great guitar players of all time, because he can. And once again, just because they're a pop band that is unbearably loud and vicious when they play live, Rick Nielsen is an astounding guitar player who someday will be recognized for the epitome of rock and roll genius that he is. So after that, I just want to rattle off a bunch of names of different guitar players that should have been on the list because they are great guitar players and they didn't necessarily win a popularity contest. And that's what this is all about. Everybody in here, although quite respectable, and I have no disagreements with any of the guitar players listed in here, but the fact is it's a popularity contest, and by the time you get to the real innovators, they don't show up. So I want to give a shout out of Durwood from Generation X. I want to give a shout out to Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad, Fred Frith, Keith Levine from Public Image Limited, Dick Wagner from the Alice Cooper Group and Ursa Major and The Frost, John Cann from Hard Stuff and Atomic Rooster, Tony Hill from High Tide, Tony Borge from Budgie, Rhino Reinhardt from Captain Beyond, Eugene Chadbourne from Shockabilly, Dave Rick from Phantom Toll Booth, Mark Boland from T-Rex, Dave Sardi from Bark Market, Harvey Mandel from Canned Heat, Adrian Ballou from King Crimson, Kimberly Rue from the Soft Boys, Gary Moore from Skid Row, Terry Reid, Jeff Buckley, Ariel Bender from the last period of Mott the Hoople, Peter Kaukonen and Black Kangaroo, Glenn Buxton from the original Alice Cooper Band, James Blood Ulmer, Robin Trower, Dave Sophia from MX-80 Sound, Paul Rudolph and Larry Walsh from the Pink Fairies, Michael Schenker from UFO, Yuri Roth from Scorpions, and Paul Kossoff from Free. And then a personal favorite of mine, just because he's so cool, Larry Byram from Steppenwolf. So those are all my guitar players that I thought should have been in it. So I'm sure everybody has all their own calls on that. But feel free to leave your comments about guitar players. And feel free to check out any of the guitar players that I mentioned in the links below. And then in the meantime, okay, everybody out there, here's my guitar. So that's what my guitar looks like. Everybody's seen it. There it is close up. My Strat. And I play with a Roland Jazz Chorus amplifier right now. and I use these pedals. So I use the Line 6 delay modeler. I use the Morley Power Fuzz Wah, truly most heinous distortion there is. And the fact that you can have the distortion on and use the pedal to ease into it from a clean sound is an advantage I couldn't find in a lot of other pedals. And then I also use the Digitech Space Station XP300. Everybody that knows that pedal knows why I like it. Completely out of this world. And then I use the MXR Stereo Chorus. Everybody likes that. And then I use, okay, my favorite baby, of course, the original Digitech whammy pedal. Of course, everybody knows these now, and everybody uses them. But I couldn't live without that now. And then I have the Tech 21 Comp Torsion for compression and distortion. And then, since you can never have too much distortion, I also have a Digitech Hothead. So then I can put distortion on top of distortion on top of distortion. And then I also use an EBO, and I use this brass slide. So, and I'll be presumptuous enough to put some of my own guitar work down below in the links too. Maybe even at the top, even above Terry Cap. So, so anyway, there you have the all the guitar players that should be in Rolling Stone. There's my review of the Rolling Stone issue. There's all my guitar junk. And I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.